So everybody always says they want a better life, but one of the things that I've noticed is very few people are actually willing to do the proper work to go and create it. And what I mean by this year, I am basically rebuilding another business from scratch. And the big focus for me when doing this is I need to do it without sacrificing my family life. One of the things that I'm well aware of, right, and this is something that I definitely think I would have been guilty of if I had kids any younger, is that we say, right, I'm doing it for them, right, I want to give them everything, right, and I actually don't believe that any guy doesn't mean that. But here's the problem, right, seeing the process, if I think back, right, see, it took me from having the gym about 9 years ago to now to get to, I would say, roughly where I wanted to be. And the big thing, right, was that that's 9 years. So see if I had Arlo and made the gym, right, that would have been 9 years of his life that I would have missed. And when I was about to rebuild this business, the big thing for me that I had to say to myself was, right, the number one thing here is that I'm not willing to sacrifice my family life. I do not want to miss him growing up. I do not want to be somebody who's not present. I do not want to miss parts of his life. I don't want to be that guy who's not there, not sitting at night, not present, sitting with his head stuck in his phone. So the thing for me is like, cool, I need to basically design my life around this. And this is a huge thing that I see, right, where we've got these goals, right, but we don't actually have the foresight to go, how do I actually create the outcome that I'm looking for? And I'm going to talk you through exactly the process that I've used this year to do that, which I'm about 6 months into it. I'm ticking it off bit by bit, and the wheels are starting to get in motion. There's been a lot of self-doubt, there's a lot of discomfort, there's a lot of challenges, there's a lot of fear at the start, but it's a process that you need to just trust, put blind faith in and go with it. And the first question I think anybody has to ask themselves, right, see in a process like this, see if you're trying to go through a big process of change and you've got a big, like I would call it a North Star goal, the first thing you need to ask yourself, right, is who do I need to become to hit that goal? And then what I do, right, is I break this down in different areas of my life, because if you're trying to become a certain thing, you're trying to hit a certain target, you need to be fully aware of what that is going to take and how every other area of your life should back up and supplement that. So number one, right, it's what is the 12-month target? And the 5 areas that I'm looking at, right, is family and relationships. So that would be like my family life and my relationship with Shannon and Arlo. Then I'd be looking at business. Then I'd be looking at my health. Then I would be looking at mindset, like my mental performance. Then I would be looking at like enjoyment of life. Those are the 5 areas, and all of them, see if we want to hit these targets, these need to complement each other. Because see if you're trying to, maybe you're a guy who you're trying to do really well in work, maybe you're chasing the next promotion, you're a guy who works for themselves, you're chasing like success. You need to understand, right, see if you don't want to sacrifice your family life, you need to have everything else basically sitting around this goal. Because I'll be honest, for years I used to say things like, oh, like my relationship's my priority, then in the early days it was Arlo's a priority, and then if you looked at my habits, it was absolute nonsense because I couldn't stop working. All I would do is work. I couldn't get out of my head. All I was thinking about was work. Basically, my family got what was left. Absolute nonsense. So if we look at, right, seeing these 5 areas, what is the goal? So I knew my business goal, right, is that I wanted to rebuild this business to where my last business was, in a pretty different domain. So it was cool, right? What is all the things? The next thing you do, right, is list every obstacle that is in your way with that goal. So for me to do that, it's like, cool, I need There's 10, 15, 20 obstacles. Then you need to write, what's the solution to each obstacle? Like, how do you solve every single problem? And this takes actual thought. And I say, right, I get guys and they're like, I'm just a grafter. And it's like, cool, mate, just be prepared for the fact that your project's going to be miserable in your life. Because, like, I think just saying things like I'm just a grafter, it's actually just a deflection, feel like I'm not actually sitting willing to do the hard work to change myself, because I'd rather just bury myself in work because it gives me an element of control. It's just not going to happen, mate, honestly. Like, I used to be like that and I just got nowhere. Work out all the roadblocks, work out all the solutions to each roadblock, and then what we can do, right, is then we break it down into, like, say, a 6-month target, a 90-day target, a monthly target, a weekly target, and then it's like, cool, right, then what do I need to do for each one each day? What's a success each week so that I know that I'm hitting that? Then I would do this with my relationship, my family life, I would do it with my fitness. So for example, fitness for me, one of my obstacles this year that I put on mine, and this might go against what a lot of people think, one of my biggest obstacles was overtraining, and it was training for performance constantly. So at the start of the year I was like, I want to probably do an Ironman in 2 years, and the reason why I'd picked 2 years was because I knew that, right, if the first year is very much about training for health and training just to tick the boxes, I can make some nice progress without it taking over. So there was a lot of thought into it, and right now I went up to 6 sessions, pulled back to 5, because one of mine was like training starting to take my energy. So for example, for you mate, let's like, see, you might be out of shape, you might not be training consistently. For you it might be like, I need to train 3 days a week so that I've got the mental headspace to be able to do this. Then the next thing is like my mindset. It's like, cool, what's the mental blockers that I have? So I'll give you ones that I had in the past, right? I had a fear of failure. I had a crippling fear of other people's opinions. I could not switch off, so I could not stop. I could sit and give you the best plan in the world, I would never have been able to follow it because I would not have been able to stop myself. And this is where like the work that we do comes in, because we actually help people break the patterns that are driving this. And this is a huge thing, because a lot of guys might set the plans but they don't actually follow through, and we're going to come on to this stuff later. Then we've got, the last one's fun. Like, what are you doing for enjoyment? What actually brings you enjoyment? Ask yourself that. And then one of the questions I ask, so we've got each area, right? So we're going to have year-long goal. The question is, in each area, who do I want to be by the end of the year? So for example, right, business, I want to get the business back to where I used to be. My family and relationship, I wanted to be somebody who was calm, present, relaxed. Put it simply, that was the goal. If I look at fitness, I wanted to be in shape year-round, and I wanted to be fit and healthy. I didn't care as much about performance this year, it was more about being fit and healthy and enjoying it. If I look at, for example, what was the next one, my mindset, what was the goal by the end of this year? And I noticed that for me, and I'll go on to this in a second, for my mindset this year, it was all about what's the habits that I need to build to help me be present. I'd done a lot of the deep work to break a lot of the patterns, so it's like, cool, what's the habits that need to come in? For my mindset, I want to make sure I'm calm, present, relaxed, it ties in with all of them. What's the habits that help me do that? And then the last one is fun. What would my idea of fun this year? And it's like, what would the trips away be that I'd want to do? So you've got your 5 areas there. And then the one question asked is, what is the one thing that if I removed, it would make a huge change to everything? What's the one habit, the one thing that continually runs through my head which takes away from my mental headspace? Mine's quite simple. I was like, alcohol. Anytime I drink alcohol, I end up in my own head. It's something that's been a recurring thing of like, this holds me back, it slows me down. Not that it was becoming out of control, nothing like that, but I'm like, this slows me down. It's like, cool, take that away. So mate, what's the one thing, right, that if you change would change the game? So you've got your 12 months, right, then you break it down into all these different parts. This is how you build a business, right, without sacrificing your family, because see the reason why we break it down into these parts. See if you don't know what needs to be done each day. See if you're just a guy with everything in their head where you're like, I've got all these things I want to do. I'll guarantee you that your thought process will be, there's never enough hours in the day, there's always something that needs done. Whereas see with the process that I've got broke down, right, see if I know where I need to be at the end of 90 days, based on the year-long goal, I know the systems, processes, the market and everything that needs to be done inside that, what needs to be built, what needs to be changed. Then I can break it down, right, cool, week 1 I'll do that, week 2 I'll do that, week 3 I'll do that. And this is about committing to a process. And if you're somebody that's just going to go, I just want to work harder to make it go faster, the problem you're going to have, right, is that you're never going to be present. You're just always going to be in your own head. You're going to be stressed, and I guarantee you, no matter what you do, you'll just keep moving the goalpost. This is what I've done for years. Whereas you need to know, what is the stop point? What makes this day successful? And then, right, see once we've got that, see once we've got this process all broke down, the next thing is, right, cool, then how do you actually, the next big thing, right, is what's the habits? So what are the habits that will help you actually build the business without sacrificing your family life? So for me, number 1, right, if I look at morning, what is a simple morning routine that will help me towards my goal? Because my goal is, number 1, to be productive and work, know that I'm doing it, but also be to chill with my family. Right? So number 1, I need to write down that morning, what are the 3 things that need done today? And I remind myself they're already in my diary because I review my week. So I plan my week, so that's the first point. I plan my week, what needs done this week. Then every morning I rewrite what's the 1 to 3 tasks today that will help my week move forward. For example, today is record this YouTube, it is get my content recorded and also create a lead magnet. I know that that is a successful day. So when I get that done, I am more than happy to chill. Then at the end of the day, I had to create a switch off routine. For me, right, see if I just leave work and go straight into family life, I find it very hard to detach. I'm always in work mode. So it's like, cool, what do I need to do to actually create that space so that my brain knows work is done? For me, it's simple, right? I write my wins for that day. What have I done well? What are the big wins that I had that day? Then the next thing is I do like 15 to 20 minutes of breath work. That's not for everybody, right? I'm not going to tell you need to go and do that. That's something that works well for me. For you, it could be, and then the last thing is I put my phone away. So my phone goes in a drawer, or it'll go in wherever. I normally just get it Shannon. That's another thing. The thing with the phone, that's the big one that requires the biggest work. What I'm good at now is if I go on my phone, I generally won't get sucked into work, but I can end up scrolling social media too much, which I don't like, and it's not the example we want to set. So generally, it's something that's getting better every day. Then the next thing, right, for you, you might not want to do the like breath work or something. It could be going a walk without your phone. It could be just like seeing your commute home. It could just be like putting your phone away, like sitting, like not fucking about, like listening. Maybe it's like listening to the phone in, I don't know. But create an actual switch between you and work. And then like generally what we try and do at night is do something. Like it's easier in the summer just now, but actually do something which detaches me from work. So like it could be go for a walk, like sometimes it's go for an ice cream. It could be I'll just cook dinner, something that actually just breaks me out of the thought of work, because it will take, like for me it probably takes about 20-30 minutes, and then I'm like, right, cool, I'm present. And this is just a continual process that's always ongoing. And then the big thing, right, the third thing, see if you want to be present, if you want to build whatever it is, if you want to get promoted, build a business, but you actually want to be present. Biggest thing, right, is you're going to need to follow through and do what you said you would when you said you were going to do it. Because I had a terrible tendency previously that I would create plans, I would create all these ideas, but then what I would do is I wouldn't actually follow through when I was meant to. So say for example I had something in my diary to do at 9, I would end up moving it to 11 if I couldn't be bothered, and then I would change something on, and then see by the time I'd change things run that much, what I would then end up doing is getting in my own head, because it would be getting close to the time where I had to go home. I still had work to do. I knew that when I got home I was going to need to do the work, which meant I would start to get pissed off, frustrated, angry. I'd got home, I'd be a wee bit short, a wee bit snappy, and I was actually being a dick because I wasn't following through, or else I'd be sitting on my phone wasting time procrastinating instead of actually doing the work that needs to get done. That is one of the biggest things that I see with guys, and it has nothing to do with your ability to be present at that point. It's your ability to follow through and actually do the work. And there can be reasons for this, right? But quite often, mate, this is a huge barrier for people. And don't get me wrong, like I'm recording this when I had a cancellation. Like it opened up a space for me, and I'm like, just get this done. And here's the thing, right? I would have loved to have just sat and done nothing, but I'm like, if I get this done, I know that it means that tonight I've got so much more space to relax, to chill, to actually enjoy some time with Shannon and Arlo. And mate, if that's your goal, if you want to actually be able to enjoy your life, like you need to start following through. As much as it's annoying, as much as it's irritating, like I hate seeing people like, oh, motivation, I'm lazy, or this. Half of that is just a protection thing. It just protects you from doing the work. Get that out of your head, honestly. It is just protecting you from actually having to do the work. But what I want to get you thinking about, mate, number one, right, if you look at the 5 areas, right, say 12 months from now, who are you actually trying to become? Like what is the goal? Where are you viewing yourself in 12 months time? That's cool. Like what is all the obstacles in each area that are holding you back? And how do you solve every obstacle there? And there is a solution to every single one of them. If you don't think there is, you're not looking hard enough. Surface level thinking, again, one of the biggest barriers that holds guys back. Then from there, it's cool. What is the habits that you need to bring in daily, weekly, whatever it is, to be able to nail this plan with the solutions? And here's the thing, right? One of the biggest things I could say to you, right? See if you've got the 12-month goal and it's over here, right? There's a process that's going to take you over here. And say, for example, right, I'm about 6 months in, right? I've not seen huge returns on it yet, but I understand that quite often that comes in the second half of the process, because there's a lot of building, a lot of laying the foundations, a lot of putting in the actual groundwork. And this is what I want to. This is what this whole video is about. See, unless you've laid the foundations, and I don't just mean from a work perspective, unless you've laid the foundations in how you want your family life to look, and how you want your fitness to look, how you want your mindset to be, you will not be able to do this, because you're just pulling stuff out your arse and hoping that it works. And see, anything built in shaky foundations, it's never going to last. And I would say every business I've built has been in shaky foundations, the shaky foundation being me. And that might surprise people, but I was always like a ticking time bomb. Whereas like actually doing the work to, number one, make sure that I'm showing up the way I should be, and I don't just mean getting in shape, I mean like actually sorting my mental headspace to break out the patterns that were causing like the massive self-destruction, the overthinking, the fucking procrastination, all these different things. So mate, have a think, what is it that you need to do? Who is it you're trying to become? In each area, then what's the habits? Most people go to habits first. Or in fact, where are you trying to get in each area? Then what is the process you're trying to go through? What's all the stuff in the middle to make sure that you're going to put the right habits there to go towards what you need to be? And this is in the process that we do with people. Our first thing, right, is we clear the shit, right? We clear the shit in your mind. Then it's who do you want to become? Then it's what's the habits. And then in this middle part, it's like we redirect to where are you trying to go? Because a lot of people are just trying to punish themselves, right? They'll try and punish themselves with work, they'll try and punish themselves with fitness. And by the way, I'm all for doing hard things, right? You'll hear me talking about getting shit done, I've said it in this multiple times. But what so many guys are doing is they'll just try to punish themselves into the ground because they just don't know where they're going. So they just think harder, more, harder, whether it's fitness, whether it's training, and then all that happens is your family gets absolutely nothing for you. Not great. I've been there. I literally have been like that. So I'll never pass judgment. People, I understand the thought processes you're in. It's horrible. See, when you're doing it and you don't want to be doing it, it's one of the worst feelings in the world. But the only way that changes is if you actually grab the bull by the horns, start to look and analyse your life and fucking figure out what needs to change, mate. And if you want, mate, I've got a guide I can send you across. Send me across the word guide and I will send you. And it will break down the exact process, how you do the whole thing. And I'll guarantee you, mate, see if you actually follow that, it will be an absolute game changer.